Hi, my name is Dr. Eliana Ramirez. I am a former federal employee. I am a researcher of racial and LGBTQ workplace trauma, and I am the founder and president of Hostile Workplace Recovery. I'm jumping online today for just a few moments to extend my heartfelt compassion toward federal employees who are dealing with a sudden layoff or facing uncertainty with the email that was sent out yesterday, demanding that people send in an email to their supervisor listing 5 accomplishments from the last week, or face termination. There is so much confusion, sorrow, grief, and frankly, trauma that federal employees are experiencing right now. Obviously, for those who have already been terminated suddenly, there is absolute devastation. Where are people going to get the money to pay for ongoing healthcare needs, basic needs like food and housing? There are so many different devastating impacts, of course, that happen when somebody loses their job, especially if they are a primary care provider for children and or elderly parents. There are also a lot of resources that are being generated right now, and I'd like to share some of them with you. The first thing that I'm going to share is from AFGE, and I'm just going to bring this to the stage here. As I mentioned, I am no longer a federal employee and I'm not associated with AFGE, but I spent 14 years in the federal government, and I have several close family members who are currently in federal government, which is why I feel compelled to share this. So this message that was released from the AFGE regarding the OPM email that was sent yesterday. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this. For folks who might have visual impairment, this will be helpful to hear. But also for people whose brains have been impacted by chronic stress and workplace trauma, it can be helpful to hear somebody say things out loud. So it reads, many of you have already received or will soon receive an email from a U.S. Office of Personnel Management, OPM email address, hr@opm.gov, titled, What Did You Do Last Week? This email requests all federal employees to respond with approximately 5 bullet points detailing their work over the past week. No explanation has been provided regarding how this information will be used or why it is being requested. While a message on X from Elon Musk suggested that failure to respond would be considered a resignation, the OPM email itself does not contain this threat, and there is no known authority for Mr. Musk to make this claim. It goes on. They're recommending that people consider submitting in writing via email to their supervisor the following language. This is from AFGE's recommendation to federal employees. Recommendation is, Dear Supervisor, I received the below email today from a sender that was not within the agency or in my chain of command. Please provide me guidance on whether I am required to respond, and if so, how I should respond by the end of my tour of duty on Monday. Please make sure to inform me of the type of information I should include in my response. If I am required to respond, I will. I will assume that I have no obligation to respond to the email unless instructed to do so. If directed by your supervisor to reply to this email, you should comply with that directive consistent with any guidance provided by your agency. If your regular day off is Monday, substitute Sunday for Monday in the template above. So that's the first resource that I wanted to share with you. The second resource that I wanted to share is this incredible spreadsheet that has been circulating online. And I'm just going to pull up this screen here, and I will bring it up for you. So it's called the Fed Resource Directory. And I will put a link to this directory underneath this video. This directory is incredible. It has just a wealth of resources for federal employees. There are general resources having to do with organizations that are leading efforts to support feds, immediate resources, what to know when you're unexpectedly let go, knowing your rights, resources to provide federal employees an overview of workplace protections and methods to address workplace grievances, state resources, resources from state-based government representatives, state agencies, and local groups. Safety and security, guides for how to protect yourself in the current environment, and job boards, lists of job boards relevant for public workers. There are resume banks, career services, whistleblower protection resources, information about how to contact journalists who are looking for federal tips related to the Trump administration actions, litigation EO tracking, organizations and crowdsourced efforts tracking Trump administration action legal challenges, legal support, list of organizations and lawyers providing support to feds. I really encourage you as a social worker who has worked with many people experiencing workplace trauma to take a moment to read through these resources. If you're a federal employee who has been suddenly terminated, or if you're facing the unknown with your job, these resources can be really helpful. I want to acknowledge and normalize that if you have been facing chronic stress, especially work-related chronic stress, it can literally change the function of your brain. It can change the different regions of your brain that have to do with executive functions like problem solving and planning around challenges that you're running into, concentration, ability to read and comprehend what you're reading. If this is an experience that you're having, this is really normal. And it can be very helpful to ask a friend or family member to go through these resources with you, so that if you start to read something and find that your brain is suddenly going off in another direction, you're having a hard time understanding what you're reading, it can be really helpful to have someone go through these resources with you. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about what is available in this incredible spreadsheet. I did not create their spreadsheet. I just learned about it through LinkedIn. And I have found it to be incredibly helpful for the people that I know who work in federal employment. The second thing that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this and start sharing another thing. Warm lines that do not call the police. This is really important. Many people have been living with tremendous trauma over the last several years. And when people feel trapped, when people feel like they're unable to effectively fight or flee a danger, the nervous system can crash and it can lead to suicidal thoughts. If this is your experience, please know that this is very, very normal. When you are able to get out of a crisis response, your brain may very well have a different reaction to what's happening around you. The key to surviving a suicidal crisis is to help your nervous system settle. Sometimes in as few as 4 minutes, sometimes it can take several minutes, up to an hour, to settle the nervous system so that stress hormone flooding stops interrupting your prefrontal cortex. That's the executive function thinking part of your brain. When we are having a flood of stress hormones, the thinking part of our brain literally goes offline. And that's why the suicidal thoughts come up. So if you can get a break for a few minutes, up to even an hour, a little bit longer sometimes, it can be really, really helpful. It doesn't mean that the problems are going to go away, but it means that your brain can come back online and help you to think through alternative options. One of the ways to do that is to call a warm line. It's to reach out to somebody who understands that you are experiencing a moment of crisis, to speak to someone who's not going to pathologize you, and to speak to someone who's not going to call the police without your choice of having a welfare check. So it's really important to know before you call a crisis line or a warm line whether or not they're going to call the police. And these phone numbers that are listed here, which were created by inclusive therapists, do not call the police. Another thing that I'd like to share with you is my favorite website that I share with clients who are experiencing suicidal ideation and crisis is called Now Matters Now. And let's see if I can pull it up really quickly for you here. I love this website. It was created by Dr. Ursula Whiteside, who is herself a psychologist who is living with mental health experiences and challenges. And she created this incredible Now Matters Now website to share resources with people who are feeling overwhelming stress anxiety, pain. It could be suicidal ideation. It could be feeling so stressed out that they feel like they want to use a lot of drugs and alcohol, which whenever we become inebriated, it can reduce our ability to think through problems. It reduces our inhibition, and it can actually increase our danger of making a decision that we cannot turn back, i.e., engaging in any kind of suicidal behavior. So this website is by far one of my favorites because it shares a number of resources that can help people. I want to direct your attention up here to the right where it says, I need help now. If you are in a place where you need immediate support, there are really great resources that are here. So the direct advice for overwhelming suicide or substance use urges are to shut it down. And there are great suggestions here about: 1, stop using drugs or alcohol. Go to sleep. Do not overdose. Can't sleep? Take a cold shower or put your face in ice water for at least 30 seconds and repeat. When we are exposed to significant cold, like cold water on our face or taking a cold shower, or even jumping in a lake, if you happen to be lucky enough near a lake, a river, a stream, it activates what's called the dive reflex that slows the nervous system and can interrupt the flooding of stress hormones, so that that prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, can come back online and you can problem solve in a different way. If you have a heart condition, it's really important to check whether or not it's safe for you to expose yourself to significant amounts of cold water all of a sudden. But this is something that can be kind of like an emergency brake. Another important thing to do is not make important decisions, especially about deciding to die. Do not panic suicidal thoughts themselves. The thoughts can't hurt you. The skills can help. The things that are in this website can help you survive that suicidal crisis so that you have more options afterwards. And finding support. And I just shared with you a couple of phone numbers that do not call the police. There are really great videos. This is the founder of this website, Dr. Ursula Whiteside. She has amazing videos about how to survive suicidal crisis and overwhelming feelings of wanting to harm oneself. She also has a variety of crisis line numbers that are here, international. And I do just want to point out that this 988 crisis line number, there has been a 40% increase in unrequested police engagement with people who call the 988 crisis line. Some incredible journalism from Mr. Rob Lupond has been bringing this to light. And so just be aware that if you call a crisis line, some of them might actually end up calling the police, unless they've explicitly said that they won't do so. You can go up here to the top where you can learn skills. There are numerous skills and videos to show what you can do to help yourself get through moments of extreme crisis. So this is the Now Matters Now website. And then finally, I would like to share with you, if you are a federal employee or if you are a civilian employee who has engaged in diversity, equity, inclusion, and you were suddenly fired or forced to leave that position to save your mental health, your physical health, your career because you're being sabotaged, you are invited to join a DEI Backlash Survivor group coaching program that I am running. It's starting up in March. This is an incredible opportunity to learn about the neuroscience of racial trauma, to develop self-help skills if you have been physically or psychologically injured by workplace abuse or backlash. This is an incredible opportunity to spend time with other DEI backlash survivors. Importantly, when we can spend time with one another, we begin to realize that what happened to us was not our fault. There are systemic betrayals that we experience from employers who hire us to do diversity, equity, inclusion work and then sabotage us or force us out of the job. And the more that we can spend time with one another and talk about these experiences, the more that we realize that it was not about us. It was actually about institutional betrayal, where our employer failed to protect us from psychosocial hazards at work. The final thing that I would like to share with you on this point is, and I'll just pull it up here. If you are interested in other self-help information and resources, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, please. I welcome connection invites, and I am delighted to share with you resources that I have been collecting. And I'm going to share my screen one last time here, and I'll just share, let's see here. I've got a variety of resources on my website that may be of help if you are trying to make sense of what has happened to you at work. So this is the DEI Backlash Survivor Group Coaching. It describes that we offer 10 weeks of 2-hour group coaching sessions. The first hour is me sharing research information about the impacts of chronic stress on the brain, on the nervous system, on the hormones, stress hormones and pleasure-related hormones, as well as resources to help employees who have experienced DEI backlash find a new job that is not performative allyship, a new job where people will actually be valued and respected and protected in their jobs. And then importantly, connecting with our healing potential in our own body. So we use somatic practices to help settle the nervous system and bring the thinking brain back online. And then the second hour, we are going into small groups, and they are facilitated by the folks that I just showed you on that previous slide. We have breakout sessions, breakout group for Black women, a breakout group for Indigenous women, a breakout room for women of color who are not Black or Indigenous, a breakout room for men, and I'm going to be facilitating a breakout room for LGBTQIA2S folks. A couple of additional things that I'd like to show you on this website here. If I go back to the first page, and I'll again put all of these resources out there for you. If you scroll down on the first page, you will see statistics about workplace abuse. It is extremely common. If this has happened to you, you are not alone. And importantly, I want to show you that I created a free resource guide. It's a self-help workplace abuse recovery resources. If you were to use this QR code, you will find a number of support groups, lists of therapists, how to find resources that have to do with racial battle fatigue and recovery from workplace abuse. And then the other thing that I'd like to show you on this website, if we continue to go along here, I've also done numerous interviews with people who have experienced workplace abuse and or who are who have expertise, like employment attorneys and other folks. So if you would like to, listen to other people who have experienced workplace abuse or who are experts in psychosocial safety, please feel free to peruse these videos. They are available at no cost. And the final thing that I would like to share with you about this website are, if we go back down here to our resources on the very end, I have a variety of essentially blogs that I've written that have information about surviving toxic jobs, healing from workplace abuse experiences, learning to trust after workplace abuse. It can be so difficult for many of us who have experienced workplace trauma to go out into the workforce again and to try and find a new job. We might have stress reactions when we receive email notifications or when we have to jump into a Zoom. Places where we are using software that has to do with workplaces where we were actually psychologically abused. It can be very, very difficult to make our way through those everyday workplace reminders of that trauma. So there's information in here. You're more than welcome to access it. It's all available at no cost. And again, I am so very sorry for what you're experiencing right now. Federal workers, you do not deserve this. And I hope that you will find resources that will help you through this process. Thank you.